So the spiritual reading that I have for today, and probably will have for the next couple of weeks, comes from John O'Donohue's book, Beauty. He really stretches the definition of beauty and expresses it in such amazing poetic language that I find myself drawn in to this book. And it's nice to be able to share a few pieces of it. So he says this: everything that is in God. There is nothing outside God. In some haunted yet tender way, God is also the most intimate dimension of every human mind, and in a sense, the most natural thing in the world is God. There is no distance or barrier between us and God. When there are barriers creating a distance between us, they are our barriers, not God's. God is like a light within the heart that nothing can extinguish. We can never lose God because God is twined eternally to the soul. Once we awaken to the beauty which is God, there is a great sense of homecoming. The mercy of God is subversive affection that sees through our weakness until it illuminates again the reflection of beauty which is our essence. Regardless of who we are or what we have done, we never lose our dignity before God's eyes. When the gaze of God falls on us, the light of our neglected beauty shines through the mirror of our soul.
Our scripture reading comes from Psalm 139. Yahweh, you searched me and you know me. You know if I'm standing or sitting. You read my thoughts from far away. Whether I walk or lie down, you are watching. You are intimate with all of my ways. The word is not even on my tongue, Yahweh, before you know what it is. You created my inmost being and stitched me together in my mother's womb. For all these mysteries, I thank you. For the wonder of myself, for the wonder of your works, my soul knows it well.
Would you pray with me? Gracious Spirit, help us to be present this morning, attentive to one another and to your presence. May we see your beauty in ourselves and in each other. May the words of my mouth and meditations of each of our hearts be filled with your wisdom and your insight. Amen. So for these summer months that we've been gathering, I chose these themes of blessing and joy and beauty, in part because they seemed a little bit lighter. Like maybe we'd have some light summer conversations. And then the more I dig into them, the more I realize that they're really important pieces of our spiritual journey. And that without these pieces, we're missing part of what keeps us healthy and whole as spiritual beings. So we embark on this new stretched understanding of beauty. And it may be a little bit of a challenge because we're so programmed, brainwashed to think of beauty in only one way. We've always heard the term that beauty is more than skin deep, but honestly, if you look around at the world, I'm pretty sure most of the world thinks it really is just skin deep. If I looked up the definition in Merriam-Webster of beauty, the definition is the quality or aggregate of qualities in a person or thing that gives pleasure to the senses or pleasurably exalts the mind or the spirit. But I think spiritually it has to go one step deeper than that, which is that the divine is present in beauty within us, around us, in our actions, in our character, in all of these things that we talked about with the kids, and in even more. And so it's our job to try and stretch that and integrate some of that and get rid of some of the other brainwashing in the next couple of weeks. Because if we get stuck on that, beauty is aesthetically pleasing, and that's like where we end it, sadly. Just to make that point a little bit more, let me throw a few statistics at you, okay? So, you want to guess which country has the most plastic surgeons? The US. So, last year, there were 451,000 liposuction surgeries, which was up 55% over just 3 years ago, 2019. There were 365,000 breast augmentations last year, up 38% from 2019. And there were 242,000 tummy tucks, up 57% from 2019. So do you want to guess which plastic surgery is most performed in the whole world? Nope. I just mentioned it, actually. It's one of those three. Breast augmentation. So, you really need to get more sleep after our gigs, dear. I'm not going to repeat that comment. You can ask Julie later what she said. So, the beauty industry worldwide is worth $511 billion. I don't even know how to count that many zeros. $511 billion. In the US, you want to guess the average amount that, so I think it's women, spend on beauty supplies every month. No, yeah, women. How much do you think women spent per month, on average, in the U.S. on beauty products last year?
10,000.
A month? Products, not the surgery.
No, that's just me. That's me, sir.
That was you. Well, you. Now I know who's taking my share. The average that a woman spends per month on beauty products.
$100.
It's $313. Right? Somebody's using my share because I can tell you can probably tell, I don't spend that much on beauty products. That's a lot of money. This is where we're putting our time and our energy and our dollars into, because we believe still that beauty is skin deep. We do the whole body image thing. 50% of 13-year-old girls are unhappy with their bodies. And that increases to 80% by the time they're 17. Boys are not immune, but it's way lower. It's like 25% of boys and adolescents. I feel that they're not masculine enough, muscular enough, lean enough. And then we get into women. So 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies. Despite the fact that only 5% of women have that natural body type that you see in the magazines that we all think we want, right? 45% of men say they are unhappy with their bodies. And 13% of adults have contemplated suicide based on concerns of their body image. So clearly, beauty is believed, whether we say it or not, to be skin deep. And And the church hasn't helped matters any in this whole concept of being friends and loving your body, because really the church, by and large, has had this dualistic understanding of body and spirit just about forever. Maybe we're starting to heal this concept, but for so long it was the body was bad, but the spirit is good, right? The sins of the flesh we're talking about all the time. But we're supposed to deny our flesh and be spiritual people. We're all one, folks. Body, mind, and spirit is all connected. And we've got to start thinking that way. Yeah, the church was all about her sexuality was bad, right? Which is why Mary ends up being a virgin somewhere along the line. Because, well, you can't give birth to somebody who is supposedly part God if you're sinful. So, okay, we'll just make Mary a virgin, and that solves that problem. But wait a minute, then Mary couldn't have been born in sin, because how do you sin? Well, you have intercourse, right? And so, well, let's just say that, okay, the church came up then with immaculate conception. So Mary, too, was immaculately conceived, according to the Catholic Church. Poof, they just decided that in like 1954 or something crazy like that. To solve the whole problem of Mary's mother being sinful because she was a sexual being. All of these things just continue to inundate us with the belief that our bodies are not beautiful, that sexuality is not a thing to be enjoyed. It's not something that's beautiful. So given all of that baggage, when somebody says to you, Peggy, you're beautiful. You know, Lisa, you're beautiful. Jeff, you're beautiful. You kind of go, yeah, right, what you been smoking, right? Because we don't see it in our, you know, people, if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, so how about the Brewers, you know, and I don't even watch the Brewers, right? Because we can't see it in ourselves. We don't know how to, because it's that skin deep thing, and we all look in the mirror and go, oh, so not really beautiful. Especially as I get old and saggy and wrinkles and all that kind of stuff. We have got to expand this definition. And I have to try hard at it too. So again, preaching to self. So let's try something here, okay? Because this is, I tell you all a lot. I don't know if you hear me say it, but I tell you a lot that you are beautiful. Often at the end of the service, right before I tell you to get out. You are beautiful. Go, spread that beauty. But I believe, so the psalmist in the psalm that Scott read talks about the wonder of our bodies, right? The mystery of our bodies being stitched together in our mother's womb. I mean, the miracle of birth, the miracle of how we got here is just crazy phenomenal, right? And that line that says, for the wonder of myself, thank you. If we could recapture the wonder of our very selves, could we then begin to love and appreciate ourselves and see the beauty in us, body, mind, and spirit? So do something for me. I want you to look at your hand. Look at your hand. Flex your fingers. There are 27, somebody's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but there are 27 bones in your hand and 34 muscles. And then there's nerves, and there's tendons, and there's the skin on your hands. Right, think about all of the things that your hands have done for you, the good things. Let's stick to the good things. That they've done for you over the years. Name some. What do your hands do for you?
Right.
They work, they write. They eat, they feel. Play music. Pet your dog.
Rock the baby.
Rock the baby.
Comb my hair.
Comb your hair.
Draw.
Draw.
Scratch your back.
What was that, Marion?
Pull the weeds.
Pull the weeds. They garden. Yes.
Push-ups.
Push-ups.
Scratch your back.
What was that name?
Scratch your back.
Scratch your back. Oh my gosh, what would we do if we couldn't scratch our back? We'd be like the bears in the trees, right? What did you say, Shirley? Hugs, yeah. To hold a hand. How many hands have we held? And that's just the tip of the iceberg of the amazing things that our hands do. If you've ever had a broken finger like I had last year, you realize all the things your hands did that now they can't do, right? But, we've all had a cut on our hand or broken something. And it heals. How phenomenal is that? We don't almost have to do anything to it. Maybe clean it, put a Band-Aid on it, but it heals itself. And there are these wash and wear things, right? Just about anything can wash off of your hands. How phenomenal is that? And it keeps all that blood and muscles and everything inside, and yet it keeps all the nasty stuff, for the most part, outside. These are crazy amazing. But for the wonder of myself, thank you. Right? We could do that with every part of our bodies. Because we are wonderfully made. Every little part of us is just phenomenal in what it does. And even though, so we may be getting older and maybe our hands are a little wrinkled and maybe they're stiff or they're arthritic, but you know what? They're still doing their job, aren't they? They're still doing their darndest to keep doing everything you want them to do. Love your hands. And when we love our hands, we take care of them, right? So when they're dry, we put lotion on them. When they're cut, we wash them and we put a Band-Aid on them. When they're cold, we put gloves on them. We take care of the things that we love. So the challenge becomes expanding that to all of us. To see that not only the beauty and wonder in our hands, but the beauty and wonder in every part of our bodies, and to love our bodies. And if we love our bodies, instead of hating our bodies, which we're all prone to do, don't want to look in a mirror without clothes on, ew. But that negative talk is so divisive inside our souls. It's so hurtful to our souls, to our very selves. It causes this division inside. So we need to start loving all of us, body, mind, and spirit. We're all connected. Love our bodies, love our minds, which we're not talking about today, but love the beautiful spiritual things that we do and are. So, some of those pieces in there that expand beauty. We've kind of expanded this concept of the beauty of our bodies. But the beauty in our actions. There's a story about a photographer who was creating a black and white book of photographs of people who were in catastrophic situations. So, war, starvation, genocide, natural disasters, those sorts of things. And he happened to find himself in Ecuador in the 1980s. And at that time, the political situation was just awful for the people. And so many found themselves in poverty, starving, homeless. And then on top of that, there was a cholera outbreak that was huge. And then on top of that, they had torrential rainfall that devastated crops and caused mudslides that wiped out homes and in some cases, entire villages. So the United Nations and Catholic Relief Services sent in plane loads of food to help the people. And our photographer found himself finding a spot on a main road where the relief workers were handing out food to a line that just went on and on and on of people who needed help. And he sat there, taking pictures and watching as people wandered about, having lost their homes, their possessions. Some of them lost their families, their relatives. They were lost and injured and hurt and tired and exhausted. And a little girl about 9, 10 years old who was standing very patiently in line caught his eye because she kept looking over to keep an eye on 3 smaller children who were hiding under a bush to try and stay out of the sun as much as possible. 2 little boys, maybe 5 and 7, and a 3-year-old little girl in between the 2 of them. And she kept an eye on them the whole time she was standing in line. And as she got closer and closer to the front, which she didn't notice because she was watching the kids, but what the photographer did notice was that they were running out of food. So the aid workers were becoming more anxious and more nervous and more agitated. This little girl just kept going forward. She finally got to the front of the line, and she was given a banana. 1 banana. But what stunned and paralyzed our photographer friend was the way the little girl reacted. She just broke out into the biggest, most beautiful smile, and she took that banana and she bowed to the aid worker. And then she went to the kids that she was caring for, and she very carefully peeled that banana, broke it into 3 pieces, and almost reverently handed 1 piece to each of those children. And then together they bowed their heads and they said a blessing. And then the 3 little kids very slowly nibbled on their bananas while she sucked on the peel of the banana. And he said he just ended up weeping uncontrollably at the sight of this. That he forgot all about his camera, all about why he was there, because in that moment he had seen God, the face of God shining out of this poor little scraggly, matted hair, clothes torn, scraped up little girl, in the love and the compassion and the grace and the generosity of her soul. The beauty in her soul. Sid never did get a picture of those little kids, but that image is etched in his mind forever. That's beauty, much more than skin deep. And that beauty is in each of us, in every person. It's the divine within us that comes out in such beautiful ways. It's our bodies that carry us through life, keeping going despite so many things that can go wrong, and giving us the best they can. You are beautiful. Amen.